You don't recognize them at first. They're calm when everyone else panics, quiet when others overshare, polite but distant, sharp but tired. They don't complain, they don't brag, they don't explain themselves. And that's usually the first sign. You're looking at someone who has already been through more than most people ever will. Not the dramatic kind of suffering, not the Instagram kind, the slow, grinding, invisible kind. The kind that rewires your brain. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. Pain doesn't just hurt you, it upgrades you. But the upgrade comes with a cost. And today, we're going inside the psychology of people who have gone through too much and what it really does to the way they think, trust, love, work, and survive. This matters now more than ever because we're living in an age of pressure. More competition, more comparison, more debt, more burnout, more loneliness. The modern world is efficient at producing trauma quietly. No wars, no disasters, just years of stress stacked on top of each other. Job insecurity, family responsibility, broken relationships, financial anxiety, social isolation, and the constant feeling that you're falling behind. It doesn't break you all at once. It wears you down. And when a person carries too much weight for too long, something changes. Let's start with what actually happens inside the brain. Your brain is designed to learn from danger. Touch fire once, you remember forever. Get betrayed once, your mind builds a firewall. The amygdala, the brain's threat detection system, becomes more sensitive. The nervous system shifts into long-term survival mode. This isn't weakness, it's efficiency. Your brain says, "Last time hurt, let's not let that happen again." So it rewires your perception of reality. People who've been through too much don't see the world the same way. They scan rooms automatically. They read tone before words. They notice micro-expressions. They sense shifts in energy. Not because they're paranoid, because pattern recognition kept them alive. Pain trains awareness. Over time, this creates a very specific psychological profile. First, they become hyper-independent. They don't like asking for help. They don't trust safety nets. They don't rely on promises. Not because they're proud, because experience taught them that help is unreliable. So they build their own systems. They save more. They plan more. They prepare for worst-case scenarios. They don't assume things will work out. They assume they won't and plan accordingly. To outsiders, this looks pessimistic. In reality, it's risk management. People who've been burned don't gamble with their future. Second, they become emotionally economical. They don't waste energy on drama. They don't chase validation. They don't overshare. They've learned that emotions are expensive. Every argument costs time. Every attachment risks loss. Every hope risks disappointment. So they invest selectively. When they care deeply. When they detach, it's permanent. They don't play emotional games. They've already paid that price. Third, they develop an unusual relationship with control. When life has blindsided you enough times, you stop trusting randomness. You want predictability, structure, leverage. That's why many people who've suffered early become obsessively disciplined. They track their money. They control their routines. They optimize their environment. Not because they're perfectionists, because chaos feels dangerous. Control feels safe. This is why trauma produces both monks and moguls. Some people turn inward and simplify life. Some turn ruthless and dominate systems. Different strategies, same origin, survival. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Pain doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you colder. When you've lost enough, you stop expecting fairness. You stop believing in happy endings. You stop waiting for rescue. And that creates a quiet separation between you and everyone else. You can be surrounded by people and still feel alone, because your mind operates on a different frequency. You don't think in optimism, you think in probability. You don't trust enthusiasm, you trust consistency. You don't believe words, you believe patterns, which makes casual relationships exhausting. Small talk feels pointless, complaints feel childish, excuses feel insulting. You've survived real pressure. You don't have patience for imaginary problems. There's also something strange that happens with ambition. People who've been through too much either become extremely driven or emotionally minimalist. Some chase security obsessively, money, power, stability, influence, not for luxury, for protection. Others reduce life to its essentials: peace, health, time, freedom. No interest in climbing, no interest in status, just space to breathe. Now let's talk about relationships. This is where the scars show. People who've been through too much love differently. They don't fall fast. They don't trust easily. They don't attach blindly. They test. They observe. They wait. They look for consistency over intensity. They value calm over excitement. They are suspicious of charm. They know attraction is easy to fake. Character is not. They don't need fireworks. They need safety. But once they commit fully. They don't leave at the first conflict. They don't disappear when things get hard, because they understand pain. They don't fear it. They respect it. Which also means they don't tolerate disrespect. They've learned what suffering feels like. They won't volunteer for it again. There's a dark irony here. The people who've been through the most often become the most reliable. They show up. They keep promises. They handle pressure. They don't panic. They make excellent leaders, excellent partners, excellent strategists. But they rarely feel understood. Because their calm isn't happiness, it's acceptance. Their silence isn't peace, it's restraint. Their strength isn't confidence, it's endurance. And endurance is expensive. Burnout is common. Emotional numbness is common. Isolation is common. When you've spent years carrying weight, you forget how to put it down. So what does all this mean for the world we're building? It means we're quietly creating a generation of highly capable, highly functional, deeply tired adults. People who don't break easily, but also don't feel easily. People who can survive almost anything, but struggle to enjoy it. This isn't tragedy, it's adaptation. The human brain is brilliant at surviving bad environments, but survival mode was never meant to be permanent. And here's the final paradox. The people who've been through too much don't want sympathy. They don't want attention. They don't want to be saved. What they want is something much rarer: stability, respect, peace, and a life where they don't have to be strong all the time. So the next time you meet someone who is calm in chaos, quiet in crowds, and unmoved by pressure, don't mistake it for indifference. You might be standing next to someone who already fought battles you never saw. And the real question is this:
In a world that keeps demanding more from everyone, how many strong people are quietly breaking, just without making a sound?